Good morning, everyone. This is Haven Ditko, and it is actually like 6 o'clock in the morning for me. I have been asked a lot of times that, or by the people that do the Blender for Beginners series, where do we go after this? What do we do next? Well, the next thing is just practice a little bit on modeling. You know how to do some of it now. You know some of the tools that you have available to you. Don't rush into the next part yet. Just let's settle down and make a few projects. So the next question is well, what should I make? Well, what I decided to do was to come up with a few simple projects that incorporate the use of different tools or different techniques, or show you the idea behind different ways of creating or working with geometry. In this tutorial that I'm doing now, it's going to be probably 2 or 3 parts. But in this tutorial, I'm going to do things that maybe a more experienced Blender modeler might not do. This is not geared towards the advanced modeler. This is all geared towards the beginner. And in it, I'm going to be doing extra steps, not because those extra steps are needed, but because I want to be able to show you have choices in the way that you do things. I want to show you what they are, and I want to show you the outcome of those. Like, well, what's the benefit of doing it this way versus the other way? You'll have to excuse me, my throat's a little sore today. Alright, so I'm going to start off by making a planter. As boring as that sounds, it's not going to be boring. One moment, please. It's not going to be boring. We're going to do quite a bit of things, or quite a few things to it, and we're going to do it so that we are left with the ability to get more creative, to make this simple planter and plant into something much more than what we're just creating here in this little tutorial. So by the end of the tutorial, I'll stop talking in a second. By the end of the tutorial, you'll be able to continue on with this project, making it into something else, or leave it as it is and go on to the next tutorial project that I put together. So we're going to start out today with a torus. So my cursor is centered. Remember, that's important. The cursor shows us where the center of the object is that we're going to be adding to our scene. So Shift plus C centers that. I always work in ortho. The reason I work in ortho, as I said in some of my tutorials, is because when you're in perspective, a lot of times your cam can get locked. You don't cam around things quite the right way. In perspective view, you can also go into your object as you're modeling it, and that hinders you when you're trying to get up close and personal with parts of your mesh, because you can't get up close to it. If you get too close to it, you end up camming inside of your object, and that just doesn't work for us. I'm going to go ahead and use Shift plus A to add my mesh menu here. Pull up my add menu using a mesh, and I'm going to go with a torus. We of course can use a cylinder, we can use many different objects to make our planter, but again, I want to show you a few little techniques that aren't really needed to make this, but hopefully you'll remember them. When it does, you'll be like, how can I do something? You're like, oh yeah, I remember when I did this on the planter. So with that done, I'm going to go ahead and I am going to just go right into edit mode and use A. Because there is something selected, when I hit A, it will deselect. I am going to come into the very center top edge, Alt, right click on it, and you can see it selects the entire loop going all the way around. I'm going to grow my selection, and that means I'm going to make the selection spread out. And to do that, I'm going to hold my control key and hit plus to grow it once in each direction, and plus again to grow it one more time. With this, I'm going to hit delete and choose to delete the vertices. That actually deletes all of that geometry. I'm going to come here, select the very center one, also delete that. I'm going to take this one down here, Alt, right click on it, delete, and delete the vertices. This is going to be the bottom of our planter, excuse me, and we do want a face here, but we don't need it yet, and so we'll go into that one later on. I pressed 1 to go back into front view, and I am going to make an oval. So you might think, well, just hit all of it, hit S and X, and stretch it out. But that doesn't give you a very nice geometrically made oval. It's not optimal for a lot of reasons. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to look at it from front view and deselect everything with A. Because I have my occlude turned off and I can see through my mesh, there's the back of the torus over there, I'm able to use my B for border select the very center vertex or edge loop. You see it selects it on both sides. This time when I hit delete, I'm not going to choose vertices. That would actually get rid of all of this geometry. I'd have a hole on each side. So I'm going to choose edge loops. And you'll see the edge loops just gets rid of that edge that we had in between. Now what I can do is I can use my border select again, select half of my oval or half of my torus, and I can pull it over on the x-axis. And you see I don't have these all stretched out and misshaped the way that I had them when I just simply tried to stretch the whole torus apart. Another thing is we've got nice flat sides here. It's just an overall better shape. I could at some point, and I might, add some edge loops here to give it this equal geometry all the way around. But first of all, it's not needed. And second of all, it's going to make a tool that we want to use later on easier to use if we don't have these edge loops. So I'll show you the results later on when we get to that point. Again, I'm going to deselect everything. Select the next inner edge loop by alt right clicking on it. I'm going to look at it from front view one more time. You can see, excuse me, by these yellow dots that my edge loop is here in line with this one. I happen to want to bring it down in line with this one. So what I'm going to do is I can simply pull it down with my Z arrow till I get it nice and even if I want to. And that looks good so far. You could even go ahead and delete this edge loop as well, and then we could just use this edge loop as the one that surrounds the base of our our planter. It doesn't matter. I just kind of like to show you how to sometimes line things up a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to only be concerned with this side. I'm going to be working with only edge loops, so whatever gets done to this side here, this profile, is going to be done to the whole planter. So alt right clicking on this top edge loop, I'm going to hit E for extrude. And you can see as I move my mouse around, I'm moving that extrusion around. When I click on my right mouse button, it snaps back to where it was. It did not disappear. If I hit G and Z, it moves, okay? But now what I can do is I can begin to move it any way that I want to. So if I hit G, Z, whoops, I didn't hit G, and I lost my extrusion. So actually what I'm going to do is go back a little bit and reselect that. And I'm going to hit E for extrude and bring it down. So now when I go ahead and I hit, let's say, S for scale, I can scale it upward if I want to. I can scale it inward if I want to. But it's easier if you can see this one instead of it being in line. So that's why I'm going to move it with G on the Z a little bit. I like to make extrusions and mesh where all the faces where they where you need to have the faces, where they're all about the same size. It just makes everything so much smoother and nicer when you do that. So I'm just going to continue to hit E for extrude, snap it back. I'm going to grab it on my Z whenever I want to, and I'm going to begin to shape myself a little planter here. So and I hit Z. So we were seeing my mesh and wireframe mode. Okay, let's go ahead and let's take this one in. Excuse me, I have this little bit of sniffles as well. I think I'll just bring that down just a tiny bit. And just a couple more, and then we'll be done with this portion. I think I want to take these down just a little bit. When I get to the top edge, I need to make a lip, which is like the top of the planter, and then we need to make a bit of an inside wall. So E for extrude, and this time without lifting it up on the Z, I'm just going to hit scale and move it in. And this is about the thickness of the pottery that I want to use. I'll hit E for extrude again, and this time I'll just take it straight down on the Z axis. Now do you see what's happening over here? As I pull this down, it's going on the other side of the mesh. So let me show you here. Let me turn Occlude on. There we go, you can see it a little bit better. You see it's coming on the outside? And that's because this edge here is crossing over this one. So if you get to that point down here, you could always just scale it in a little bit like that, and there's the inside of your pot. What I want to do is I am going to just do something like this, because I'm going to have dirt in here that my plant sits on, so I really don't need to bring it that far down. Now about having the top and the bottom here, the faces, we're not going to worry about that just yet. What we're going to do first is we're going to unwrap this. We want to make this ready for texturing. And sometimes as you're building things, it's nice to stop along the way and unwrap it as you go. So I'm going to hit N to close my properties panel. I'll grab my page grabbers here and pull them to the side. Come straight down to my cube icon, which is my editor menu, and I'm going to change it to a UV editor. And there we go. And this again is where we work on UVs. Now as beginners in the beginner series, we did not go into the UV editor at all. So welcome to that portion of blendering. This window holds an object kind of copy of our object in this window, only it's all laid out flat. And we'll explain more about unwrappings and what they're for later on. But let's just see how to get this simple bowl pottery into this window. So I am going to select this back seam. And actually, yeah, I'm going to choose this back seam, Control E, and I'm going to choose Mark Seam. When I deselect it now, you'll see that it's red. That means that this is a cut mark. This is where I want Blender to cut my mesh apart when it lays it out flat. The issue that we're going to have is that this edge here is folded over with this one. And I'm going to go ahead and show you what I mean instead of just telling you that that's what happens. So A, to select everything, U, and from the unwrap menu that comes up, I'm going to choose unwrap. This is the only unwrapping choice of all of these that is going to take into account the marks that you made. So unwrap, and here we go. The reason that this came out so curved is two reasons actually. Well, one is because this is curved, and these are all different sizes, so they all came in there as close as they could to what it was. But also here in the operators panel, one of the settings that we have is angle based. And angle based for the method means that your object is organic. It's not a straight lines architectural type of thing. So sometimes what you can do is come over here and click on angle based, and you'll see you get conformal. Now when I click on conformal, this will change a little bit. Whether it's for the better or worse, we don't know till we try it. And it didn't make too much of a difference. Either way, no matter which way that we use it in this particular instance, we're going to have to fix these UVs. So why don't we take a moment to expand this window. Come in here, I'm going to scroll in pretty closely. I'm going to concentrate just on this edge for right now, this area. So I'm going to scroll in on it. And a lot of the tools that you use to manipulate your mesh in the 3D viewport, you can use in this window as well. So I'm going to Alt right click on this very bottom edge, and you'll see if I scroll out, the whole edge loop was selected. If I hit W, I get this weld align menu, and this helps us to work with our UVs as well. One of the choices in here is align X and align Y. In the UV editor, Y0 starts down here at the bottom of your screen, the bottom of this texture area. Y plus is up here, so as you move up, the numbers move up, the coordinates do. X starts out at 0 on this end, and its numbers go up, or the coordinates change upward positively as you come to the right side. So if we want all of these vertices here that we've selected to be in a straight line across, we have to align them on the y-axis. We have to have them all have the exact same y coordinates, okay? So I'm going to come in here, hit W, and align on the y. These are going to start to look messed up. Do not fix them. Leave them alone. There are sometimes you're going to work on a project where you have to fix them as you go along. But for this one, don't touch them, just let it go. So I'm going to click on the next one. Alt right click, W, align Y. And I'm just going to go through and I'm going to do each of them that way. Again, that's Alt right click, W key, and then align on the Y. Again, we're doing the Y because, well, because we want them all even this way. And look how that straightened itself out. It's looking a lot nicer. But now we want to do it going in the opposite direction. So I'm just going to click here, W and X. The nice thing about menu tools is, do you see that as I use it repeatedly, my mouse, my cursor, see, it actually stays right here. So it's like Blender kind of remembers the last item that I used from this particular menu, and it is keeping it where my mouse pointer is as I go through this. And so it does help to make a shorter bit of the work if you don't have to go, where is it again? Because I don't know, when you look at menus, sometimes you ever keep going past that choice over and over again, even though you've done it 1,000 times before. So, as you can see, we're almost done with this. And I'm going to show you what I meant about the problem. Whoops, I can't get that one, can I? I'm going to show you what I meant about the problem with that lip on here. It actually did not happen on this one. you can see that this one here is a little bit longer than most of them, and you see that this one is much shorter. That does represent this longer one and this shorter one. Sometimes when you unwrap items and one piece is folded out behind the other, then you can literally get, put it here, this face folded down around the other one. So you would end up having something like this. And then as you go and you start straightening these things out, you don't realize that this is actually at the end of the mesh. So this is the beginning, and it goes up, over, and down. And you don't realize that because it's actually behind that. So let me just put that back. Now, we can make this fit our window a little bit better if we want to by hitting A and using S for scale. You want to be careful because you don't always want to get too close to the edge. And sometimes you want to get right up to the edge because you might have a seamless texture. But going over the edge like that is never a good idea. And this is because, well, I shouldn't say never. We're actually going to do it later on. But in this instance, it's not good because this mesh here that is overhanging this texture area in World will actually get its texture from this side, because even though this only shows us the texture area, it's actually, seamless all the way through here. It's like a tile. So if you were to put a brick texture in here, it's only showing you it here, but if it were in Second Life, it would be as if there was bricks here, here, here. Just filling up the whole place. I have another tutorial where we actually explore working with that to our advantage. So because we don't normally want to go out beyond the edge here, let me scale this down a little bit. We have another tool in the UVs menu, and it's called Constrained Image Bounds. And by check marking it, you can see it's a check mark now. We cannot, if I grab this to move it, we cannot move it beyond our actual texture area. So that kind of helps keep us in check. And so now I've got it. What I don't have though is I don't have it filled all the way to this side. So I am going to come in here, and you can see maybe grabbing it on the X until it gets to about here maybe. That of course brings it away from this edge. Now I can hit scale and X again and pull it out. That can get a little tedious and a little tiring, but we got it pretty good. Not perfect though. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Alt right click on this edge and G and X and pull it so I can't pull it anymore. Now it's perfect at the edge. This one here, this one is already perfect at the edge. If I hit G and X, I can't move it at all. So there, that part is done. You could, of course, also scale this up so that it fills the texture space, but the issue with that is then these are going to be even more stretched out in only one direction. And then when you put the material on it, it's going to get a lot of scrunched up material, and each one of these are textures in each one of these squares only in one direction, not in both. So it's not exactly what we want. And where did there we go. I closed it a little too much. So these flat parts here, it doesn't matter if it's got edge loops here or not. It really doesn't matter at all. This is going to take the texture just like this is, okay? If we wanted to put edge loops here, we could. So I can go ahead and use Control plus R and add, I don't know, maybe 5 edge loops. Control R and add equal amount over here. And now I have nice edge loops going all the way around. Let me show you the problem with that. Well, it's not really a big problem, but let me show you the difference between having them there and not having them there. First of all, if I select it all, you'll see those areas got filled in with those edges. We don't have to re-unwrap it because we didn't add any geometry. We just put a line basically in the geometry. So Blender put it in there for us. We don't have to do anything else to it for the unwrapping. If we were to make an extrusion, that extrusion would show up, but who knows where it'll show up. You'll have to re-unwrap things because it's new geometry. It's not just subdivided geometry. So I'm going to select this bottom edge. And the first way of filling that in, or one of the ways of filling it in, is to hit E for extrude, and you can scale it all into 0, and you're left with this triangulated face. It doesn't really matter what we have here because this is the bottom of a pot, but, to each their own. As a matter of fact, we don't even have to have a bottom to it at all. This is going to be in big N-gon. From those of you in my class, you remember what N-gons are, and they're not pretty. Especially this big of an N-gon compared to the amount of geometry that's actually in the object already. We don't have a high density thing here, so, that little bit of, that amount of triangles at N-gon is really going to add to the count of our land impact and our vertices and our triangles and stuff. So another thing that we could do is hit F for face or fill, and you'll see it comes out here all in the single line, which isn't what we want at all. But again, this is also an N-gon. It's very messy, and it's really not needed. But I'm going to go ahead and, you know what, I'm going to leave this in here anyways. But this space we don't have to have, so you can actually take it out. If I come up here to this one, and I'm going to use a tool called Grid Fill. So I'm going to use Control plus E, or I'm sorry, Control F. And Control F is the Faces menu. And in here you see we have Grid Fill. It's another type of fill. So when I select it, it fills this in with a grid. Do you see? It's not a very neat and clean grid. It's kind of pulled over and kind of messy and stuff like that. So that's not what I want. Now if I were to take these edge loops out, there were 5 of them, right? Yeah, 5 of them. And that one was originally there. So delete edge loops. Oh. Sometimes depending on which version of Blender you use, and I think I used Collapse actually just a moment ago. Oh my gosh, hang on a second, because I'm talking too much. When you use 2 of them together, it actually deletes the geometry, so you have to select ones that have 1 in between them, or every other one like I'm doing here. Okay, so now I'm back to where I started without those edge loops in there. Now when I select this inner piece, let me close this a little bit. When I select that inner edge loop and I hit F for Control F for grid fill, I get a much cleaner fill. And the nice thing about this is all quads. And you'll see when I click on one, it selects it all the way around until we get to the bottom. And we all know that it's not going to cross the bottom because it's an N-gon. If we had done grid fill here as well, then we could have made edge loops going continually around. But again, the bottom doesn't really matter. We may want to put a logo down there, or give it a pottery number, all kinds of things. So we're going to keep a bottom on there today. So this is going to be my dirt right here. And yeah, it's pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and I am going to go with the regular N-gon for up here though. Like I said, this is a small amount of geometry. Taking that out would make a difference. Making this an N-gon shouldn't be too much different than the actual grid fill. It's just how it's lined up. So now that I said that, Another reason that I'm going to make it into an N-gon rather than into, I don't know, hang on, yeah, see, rather than having this grid fill and if I have just a regular N-gon, it makes selecting it a lot easier. So let me go ahead and Control Z, and I'm going to use F and just fill it in. Now, with the top selected, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to Alt right click on the bottom, and I have them both selected. And if I come here, you'll see here they both are, but you can't really texture them because it's 1 pixel high. And so you can only put 1 pixel all the way across. It's not going to work. So let's go into top view by hitting 7 on our number pad. I'm going to use U, which is my unwrap menu again, and I'm going to choose project from view, and you'll see what happens. So here's my 2 faces, my top and my bottom. I'm going to hit L for island select, and I'm going to hit G to grab it and move it here. I will hit L for island select. I'm going to grab it and move it here. Done deal. Now, when I'm making this texture for this UV layout for this pottery, whatever texture that I put on, it's going to get spread out just like this. Let me think of a quick way to explain it before I go too much further, because actually I can't. Well, I can, but let's get through this part, and when we do texture it, I'll explain this a little bit more. But the idea is that we want to be able to texture this face, the top one, all on its own. And so we want to be able to drag a texture in SL onto this face, and we can change whatever kind of dirt we want it to be simply by dragging a dirt texture here and changing the repeats on it. And then we want to be able to drag a different texture onto the pottery here, maybe stripes or terracotta or something like that, and change the repeats on that alone as well. We don't want these on the same face because we don't want to have to create a brand new texture every time we use this. So I'm going to come and I'm going to select just this top one, and now because it is selected and it's the only thing selected, it's the only thing that shows up in this particular area right now. I'm going to hit A for all in this window as well, and now it's selected. In my Properties panel, I'm going to go to the Materials tab, and I'm going to click on the word New. This creates a new material for us to use. Whoops, let me pull this window up a little bit. I can click where it says Material, and I can change that name to Dirt, because that's what the texture is going to be. It's going to be dirt on this one, so it kind of gives us a good idea. I can also, if I want to, select a color. I'm going to select a little bit of a darker brown color. Okay, and I'm going to click Assign. Now you're going to look at this and you're going to think, hey, the whole thing got colored. I thought you were only doing this face. Well, I am only doing this face, but you cannot have an object that only has material on part of it. If you have material on an object, it must be on the entire object. So, when you make your first one, Blender automatically puts it on the entire thing. Alright? So I'm going to hit A for all. I'm going to go into Control Tab for Face Select Mode. The reason I'm going to do this is because I want to select all of this planter, but not the inside. So you're thinking, well, just click that ring then and deselect it. Well, I can do that, but then you see it deselects this as well. These vertices need to be selected in order to select these faces. So if I go into face select mode though, I can alt right click on this face and only that face gets deselected. And now I have the rest of it here. So A for all. This time I'm going to press the plus button up here, and that opens up a slot. When the slot is created, I can click on New. I can again name this pottery. Whoops, pottery. And I can give it a color as well. So let's pick a nice color for this. There we go. And always click Assign. Never forget to click Assign. It's important. That puts it there. So now you can see I've got my purple pottery and I have my brown dirt area. I have these as two separate faces, so now I can drag two separate textures onto it in SL. I want to go ahead and take the faceted view of these off. So in object mode, I'm going to go into the edit area in the tool panel, into shading smooth. I also want you to notice that this is where the origin is. The origin is here because this used to be the center of the torus, remember? But we stretched it out, so the geometry moved, but the origin stayed. So we're going to go to Set Origin and choose Origin to Geometry, and that sets it smack dab in the middle. I don't like the shape of this. It's not bad, but I think that I want to change it just a little bit. So it's never too late. You can always change things, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull this out a little bit, push that in, push that in. And even though I'm changing all of this, it's not changing anything in the UV editor. You see? It's already unwrapped, so moving it around is okay. We could totally destroy this, and when we take it into SL, it would still come out with this type of mapping or texturability or texture map. Okay, so that's our pot. If we wanted to, we could also put a different face down here so that we can put a different texture on there with our, like I said, our logo or a pottery number or whatever. But we're going to be doing more parts to this plant and planter. So we don't want to use up all of our materials. We do want to keep this as one object right now. And one object is able to have 8 materials. So if I get to the end and we've only used maybe 5, 6, or 7 materials, maybe I'll come in then and put a different material on the bottom. But for now, I really like it the way it is, and I don't like it the way it is. I'm just going to scale this in a little bit more. Oh, that's something else I wanted to show you. I'm scaling it, and you notice that it's not getting smaller on the z-axis. So if I hit S, you can see it's getting smaller and smaller and bigger in this direction, as well as coming in and in from the sides and the back and the front. What I did was I hit S for scale, but I hit Shift plus Z to keep the Z from getting scaled down. And so I'm just going to make that a little bit thicker there. I'm going to scale this in. I'm kind of back to where I was, aren't I? Okay, anyways, that is our pot and our dirt, and we will be ready for the next part on the next tutorial. So make sure you go ahead and rewatch the video if you need to. Go ahead and make yourself one and get ready for the next part. Anyways, have fun. Subscribe and share the link if you know somebody who's interested in learning how to do some of these things. And have a good day.